In any survival situation, understanding the stakes is the first step. When the world as we know it collapses, the resources that once seemed infinite suddenly become exceedingly precious. Every can of food, every drop of water, each whiff of medical supplies, they all become potential lifelines, the difference between life and death. It's crucial to recognize the limits of your resources. You've stocked your pantry, filled your water barrels, and prepared your medical kits. But these supplies, no matter how plentiful they seem now, will dwindle with each passing day. They are finite, and when they're gone, they're gone. In a crisis, it's not unusual to want to help others, especially those close to us. But every resource shared is a resource less for you and your immediate family. It's a tough reality to face, but survival often demands such hard choices. Mismanagement of supplies can lead to dire consequences. Sharing too freely can rapidly deplete your stockpile, leaving you and your family vulnerable. And once your supplies are gone, getting more becomes a monumental, often dangerous task. Moreover, failing to manage your resources wisely can also attract unwanted attention. In a world desperate for resources, those with supplies become a target. It's a harsh truth, but a truth nonetheless. Survival isn't just about having supplies, it's also about managing them intelligently, about making them last. It's about understanding that every item in your stockpile is precious, that every decision you make about your resources could have far-reaching consequences. So, before you give away that can of beans or that bottle of water, remember the stakes. Remember that in a survival situation, your resources are your lifeline. And remember that every resource given away is a resource less for you and your family. It's a grim picture, but understanding the stakes is the first step towards survival. It's the first step towards making tough but necessary decisions. And it's the first step towards ensuring that when the world falls apart, you and your family stand a fighting chance. Remember, resources are finite. When they're gone, they're gone. When it comes to survival, your immediate family should always be your first priority. This isn't a statement of selfishness, but rather one of practicality. In a crisis, resources can be scarce, and decisions need to be made about how to best allocate what's available. To do this effectively, you'll need to critically assess your family's needs. Start by evaluating the basics: food, water, shelter, and medical supplies. Consider the unique needs of each family member. Does someone require medication? Does anyone have dietary restrictions? By thoroughly understanding these needs, you can better allocate your resources and establish a clear priority list. Next, consider your family's skills and strengths. Who is the best at finding food or providing medical care? Establishing roles within your family not only optimizes each person's skills, but also ensures that everyone feels valued and included, which is vital for morale in tough times. Now here comes the tricky part: communicating these priorities to extended family and friends. This can be a delicate task, as you might be dealing with people who are desperate or frightened. The key is to be clear, firm, yet compassionate. Explain your circumstances and decisions, always emphasizing the well-being of your immediate family. You might say, "We're doing our best to manage our resources and ensure the safety of our family. We understand that everyone is facing challenges, and we're committed to helping where we can, but our first responsibility is to our immediate family." It's important to remember that you're not rejecting them. You're simply prioritizing the safety and survival of your own family, just as they would do. Remember, this isn't about being heartless. It's about making the hard decisions necessary to survive. It's about understanding that in order to help others, you first need to ensure your own survival. It's not an easy balance to strike, but with clear communication and a little tact, it's certainly achievable. Your family's survival depends on smart, strategic decisions. By prioritizing your family's needs, clearly communicating your circumstances, and making tough but necessary decisions, you're taking the steps needed to ensure your family's survival when the chips are down. Sometimes survival means having to say no, even to people you care about. The very thought of it can be unnerving, especially when the person asking for your help is a dear friend or a close family member. But in a crisis, resources are scarce, and you need to protect what's yours. Let's dive into some practical advice on how to refuse requests without damaging relationships. Firstly, be clear and firm in your response. Avoid giving mixed signals or false hope. Remember, it's not just about saying no, but how you say it. Use empathy to soften the blow. For instance, you might say, "I understand how hard this is for you and I wish I could help more, but I just can't right now." Role-playing scenarios can really help you polish this skill. Imagine a friend asking for a significant portion of your food supplies. You might respond, I understand you're in need and I sympathize with your situation. However, I have to ensure my family's survival, which means I can't spare the supplies you're asking for. Remember, the goal isn't to be harsh or unkind. You're not turning your back on people. Rather, you're ensuring that you can continue to provide for your family. It's about long-term survival, not short-term generosity. Secondly, be consistent. If you make an exception once, people may expect you to do it again. It's essential to establish your boundaries and stick to them. Lastly, don't feel guilty. This is perhaps the most challenging part. But remember, you're not responsible for others' lack of preparation. You've taken steps to ensure your family's survival, and that's commendable. Saying no can be tough, but it's a necessary skill in a crisis. It's not about being selfish, but about being realistic and strategic. Your resources are finite and you need to make them last. So, practice the art of saying no. It may be uncomfortable at first, but it's a crucial part of managing desperation and ensuring survival in a crisis. Helping others doesn't always mean giving away your supplies. When you're faced with a crisis situation, it's natural to want to help those around you, but it's crucial to remember that your resources are finite. So how can you assist others without diminishing your own stockpile? The answer lies in alternative forms of aid. One of the most valuable things you can share is knowledge. If you've spent time learning survival skills, these can be invaluable to those who haven't had the foresight to prepare. Teach your neighbors how to purify water, start a fire, or grow their own food. These are skills that can sustain them throughout a crisis, without costing you a single canned good or roll of toilet paper. But it's not just about survival skills. Maybe you're a whiz at fixing things, or perhaps you're a nurse or a doctor. These skills can be incredibly beneficial in a crisis situation, and sharing them doesn't deplete your physical resources. Remember, your knowledge and skills are a form of currency in a survival scenario. Another alternative to offering supplies is to help others to help themselves. Perhaps there's an elderly neighbor who needs assistance fortifying their home, or a family who doesn't know how to fish or hunt. Assist them in these tasks. Show them how to do it themselves so they can continue on their own in the future. You could also suggest bartering. This is a time-honored system of trade that can be hugely beneficial in a crisis. If someone needs something you have, consider what they might have to offer in return. It could be a skill, a service, or even an item you hadn't thought to stockpile. In essence, when you think about helping others, try to think in terms of long-term sustainability rather than short-term relief. This approach not only conserves your own supplies, but also empowers those around you, fostering a sense of community resilience that can make all the difference when the going gets tough. Remember, helping others can and should go beyond just giving away supplies. Boundaries are essential, especially in a crisis. As we navigate through these trying times, it's imperative to establish and maintain clear lines of demarcation with those outside your immediate family. This can be challenging, but it's a critical aspect of crisis management and survival. Think of your resources as a fortress that needs protecting. If your boundaries are weak, your fortress is vulnerable. It's essential to secure your supplies physically. This might mean having a dedicated hidden storage space for your supplies, using locks, or even investing in a security system if possible. If people don't know what you have, they're less likely to target you. But setting boundaries isn't just about physical security. It's also about psychological and emotional barriers. You need to be firm in your convictions and let others know where you stand. It's okay to say, "I can't help you this time." It doesn't make you a bad person, it makes you a responsible one. It's also crucial to avoid common pitfalls when setting boundaries. One of these is guilt. You might feel bad for saying no, but remember, your first obligation is to your immediate family. Another pitfall is the fear of conflict. Setting boundaries can lead to disagreements, but stand firm. Your survival could depend on it. Lastly, it's important to respect the boundaries of others. If you've been diligent in your prepping and others have not, that's their decision. Don't feel obligated to jeopardize your family's safety because of someone else's lack of foresight. Remember, it's not just about setting boundaries, it's about enforcing them. People may push back, but it's crucial to stand your ground. Be firm, be clear, and be consistent. Setting boundaries is a key part of protecting your resources and your family. By doing so, you're not only safeguarding your supplies, but also preserving the safety and well-being of those closest to you. It might be tough, but in a crisis situation, clear boundaries can mean the difference between survival and disaster. Survival isn't just a physical challenge, It's an emotional one too. When the stakes are high and the pressure is on, it's natural for emotions to run high. Fear, anxiety, guilt, and desperation can cloud our judgment and lead us to make decisions that, under normal circumstances, we may never consider. That's why emotional preparedness is just as critical as physical preparedness when it comes to survival. The first step towards emotional preparedness is acknowledging the potential for tough situations. In a crisis, you may be faced with difficult decisions that challenge your values and ethics. You might have to turn away a friend in need or withhold supplies from a neighbor. These are not easy choices to make, and they can weigh heavy on your conscience. Understand that such circumstances are not a reflection of your character, but a result of the survival situation. Accepting this reality ahead of time can help reduce the emotional toll when the time comes. Next, it's crucial to develop coping mechanisms. Stress and anxiety can be debilitating in a crisis, so having strategies to manage these emotions is key. This might involve deep breathing exercises, mindfulness practices, or simply taking a moment to step back and assess the situation calmly and rationally. Communicating your feelings is also important. If you're in a survival situation with family members or a group, don't bottle up your emotions. Share your concerns and fears and encourage others to do the same. This can foster a sense of solidarity and mutual understanding, making it easier to make and uphold difficult decisions. Lastly, remember that it's okay to feel scared, anxious, or overwhelmed. These are normal reactions to abnormal situations, but by preparing emotionally now, you can better manage these feelings when the time comes and make the tough calls necessary for survival. Emotional preparedness can make all the difference when it comes to survival. It's not just about having the right supplies or knowing the right skills. It's about being mentally and emotionally equipped to navigate the challenges and make the hard decisions that survival situations demand.